here's Brody Brazil.
I think it's fair to say that the Giants have had their share of headline-making days so far in this 2024 baseball season. When the team announced on Friday that they were optioning their closer, Camilo Doval, to the Sacramento River Cats, on one hand, this isn't tremendously surprising based on the season he's been having, how things have been going. Very difficult, very uphill, including his last outing on Thursday in Washington, D.C. So not surprising, but also significant. Like the fact that the team actually did this and will be without him for what I'm expecting is about a 2-week span as he goes down to Triple-A, tries to get things right, whatever it is the team is looking for, and then probably will be brought back to San Francisco for the final stretch. But the fact that Camilo was optioned, I mean, should open up a lot of eyes, and it kind of does make a statement. Not surprising, but is a statement by the team. Here's his 2024 stats after 46 appearances and 44 innings pitched. 42 hits allowed, basically a hit every inning he pitches. Not just that, but 29 walks allowed. He's also hit a couple batters, all of that to total 23 earned runs allowed, 5 blown saves, 22 saves recorded. All of this from somebody who was your All-Star last season, somebody who had some struggles last year, but this year it's just been a little bit more pronounced. And the recent weeks and months have been even more difficult than, let's say, the start of this season. So I'm going to get right to the takeaways here. That's the whole point of this video. There's not much more to break down. Like, you know his season so far. Let me begin with takeaway number 1. It's obviously not optimal to have your closer of a playoff contending team being sent down after game 100. I mean, we are literally in the final stretch. As I record this tonight, the Giants just got a walk-off on a Mark Canha sac fly. They didn't use a closer, so to speak, officially in tonight's game. They just got the win in the bottom of the ninth. But it's not optimal to be contending for the playoffs just above a 500 record. And your closer of all things. Your closer is like your shortstop or one of your starting pitchers or your leadoff hitter. A closer is an integral part of a team that's fighting for the playoffs because those slim margins, those save situations, you want your guy out there. And when your guy has struggled, that's obvious, but now you don't even have your guy because you've decided it's more important to him, it's more important to the team that we try something in somebody else right now and try and get him right, maybe to bring him back. So I don't say that this is the wrong thing to do. It's not the smart thing to do. I'm just saying it's not the optimal thing for any team to do this late into the season. This would have hit differently after game 25 or 50, even 75, like before the halfway point of the season. But here we are in almost mid-August, and your closer is going down to Triple-A. I also want to say takeaway number 2 here. This was obviously, to me, and I'm not going to speak for the front office, I'm not going to speak for Bob Melvin. This was way more about, or more than just about Thursday's blown save against the Nats. Canha cleared the bases. Giants went up by, 3 runs? And then Doval came in the game, and the Giants blew their lead, had to go to a 10th inning. And they eventually won the game by, 9-5 final score. But the fact that they had a 3-run cushion and couldn't close the deal, this is not just about Thursday in D.C. against the Nats. This is about a track record, a course of things that have gone on in recent weeks and months, and maybe even more psychologically and mentally than physically, right? It's one thing to say, well, throw some more pitches or do this with your body or get more out of yourself or whatever it is. Try and get the velo up, whatever. But I think in this case, it feels to me, the timing of this feels more like you're trying to get it right up here than you're trying to get it right shoulders and below. So I think this was more about, obviously, just one appearance. It was way more than just about one appearance. I also think not having a closer, and this applies to any team across baseball, not having your closer kind of pulls one piece out of the Jenga puzzle here, in a sense that there's a ripple effect that you take somebody else from a different role in your bullpen, make them the closer. You're shuffling the deck, and it's uncomfortable because in the same way a game starts with your starter, when you look at the bullpen and how players get used and how situations get handled, you always do it in reverse. You always think about who's going to close the game, who's going to be your 8th inning guy, and you work backwards, basically. And so without that final answer, and the Giants apparently have their guy, and we still don't know, as of I record this tonight of Friday night, we don't know who that guy officially is, or at least I haven't seen that yet. Maybe Bob will be announcing that after the game. And I'll get to who I think it is in a second. But when you don't have that guy, like you don't have the blueprint of what else to do with the rest of your bullpen, and it kind of does cause a ripple effect because then you move everybody else around where they have to do the new job, not the one they were comfortable doing before. I also want to say that you realize the Giants, like they could have just taken him out of the closer role. Okay, Camilo, you're pitching now in seventh inning situations or eighth inning situations, and here's our new closer. To go through the entire process, like I said, it's more of a statement. It's not surprising, but it's more of the statement that he's been sent down to Triple-A. He had an option. The Giants used one of his options to send him down to Triple-A. Again, I think this would have been less of a notice if he was just demoted from the closer role, but instead they have taken him off the team, sent him down to Triple-A. I think they're searching more for the full reset here. That makes me think that they're really trying to get this right. They're really trying to communicate. They're really trying to send a message here. There were two ways to do this. There's multiple ways to do this, but by sending him down, that's one of the more noticeable ways of doing this. I also think here, and I hope the best for Camilo, I hope he figures things out. I hope he can rejoin the Giants at pretty much the most important time of the season. If Doval does figure things out, whatever he's got to do in Sacramento, whatever he's got to become down there and come back and be, if he figures things out, he will return to San Francisco at literally the most critical stretch of the season. If they do gain some more ground on the wild card standings, and they do get a couple more games over 500 this year, I don't think they've been more than 2 over 500 the entire season, right? If they are able to create less of a gap into the playoff spot or get into a playoff spot by the time he comes back, Doval will be coming back at the most important time of the season. That's when you need your closer. So let's hope that works out for him and the team. Now, Bob Melvin said that one guy is going to be the team's closer. And at that point, pregame today, he hadn't talked to that person yet. We don't know who it's going to be. I'm here, and maybe this is already out by the time you're watching this, but here and now, Friday night around 10 o'clock as I record this, I'm interested in seeing Jordan Hicks be the Giants' closer. Now, I mention that because he was the starter. He had tremendous success this year until the arm started to get a little bit worn out. He's not a guy that's ever really pitched, more than 115 or so innings in a single baseball season. He was so successful through so many innings as a starter that he kind of got the dead arm situation. Well, since then, they've put him out in the bullpen. The team has got obviously Blake Snell back and Robbie Ray back, adding Hayden Birdsong to the starting rotation. So my thought here is kind of make two problems into one solution, right? Doval wasn't working out, so you've taken him out of that role, and you have some bullpen options for Jordan Hicks. I mean, that's where he kind of came from and what he was doing in St. Louis. Put him as the closer. You know he's got tremendous stuff. Jordan Hicks in the rotation, he could only really impact a Giants game maybe, once a week as a starter. Now, if you're in save situations, he could impact 3 Giants games per week. Keep the innings to a minimum, only 1 inning at a time, the 9th innings preferably. Think about that. Jordan Hicks as the Giants closer, right? And none of this was drawn up this way, but since you're here and that's what he does, and you're pretty confident with him, just a thought. And I know that's not the only option. I know there's some other choices out there, but just want to be thinking about that. So again, not surprising, this Doval news, but certainly significant. Definitely a headline of the season and not something that anybody really saw coming, 5-6 months ago. You made it here to the end of this video. You know I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me in this video, in this channel. I would like that. But I would also love it if you just take 1 second for me right now, go down there and hit that subscribe button. That way, I definitely get to see you back here next time.